My boss replaced me with his nephew, then asked me to train him on the way out. So I did. I taught him everything. Wrong. A month later, their biggest client walked. Guess who just got a call back? Hey there. We're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the story. I should have known something was off when my boss asked me to come in early that Monday. He never did that. Not unless it was urgent. Or bad. And the moment I stepped into that glass-walled conference room, I felt it in my gut. You know that hollow, sinking feeling? Like when you're about to be blindsided, but everyone around you is pretending like it's just another normal day. Yeah, that. He was already sitting there, my boss, scrolling through his phone like I was interrupting him. And right next to him, some smug-looking guy in a designer hoodie, sipping a $5 iced coffee like he owned the place. This is Chad, my boss said. No explanation. No small talk. Just Chad. Now, I've worked at this firm for almost 7 years. I started as a junior analyst and worked my way up to managing one of our biggest client portfolios. I trained half the people in the building, covered for others when they dropped the ball, and even stepped in when my boss needed someone reliable to present last-minute pitches. But none of that seemed to matter anymore. Not today. I remember standing there, still holding my backpack, when he said it. We've decided to move in a different direction. Chad will be taking over your position. I didn't move. Not right away. I just blinked. It didn't process. A different direction? Was that corporate speak for, we want someone cheaper and easier to control? Because Chad, he looked like he'd just rolled out of a frat house. Still had that permanently wrinkled face of a guy who thought being born into the right family meant he didn't have to try. I'd seen his type before, usually in college group projects. The kind who doesn't read the brief, doesn't show up to meetings, but still puts his name on the presentation. I asked the only thing that made sense in my head. Why? My boss leaned back, fingers steepled like he was trying to be gentle. Look, it's not about performance. You've been solid, man. But the company's shifting. We're trying to bring in some fresh energy, you know? More digital native talent. Chad has a good instinct for the new market. Fresh energy. Digital native. Instinct. Translation? My sister's kid wants a job, and I don't want to deal with the fallout at Thanksgiving. But wait, it gets worse. We're hoping you can help bring Chad up to speed during your transition out. Maybe walk him through the workflows, show him the portfolio management system, maybe even loop him into your client accounts. He trailed off like that was some kind of favor I should feel honored to grant. And Chad leaned back in his chair, gave me a little nod like we were equals. Like I should be grateful to pass the baton to someone like him. That's when something inside me clicked. You know that moment when disappointment shifts? When it stops hurting and starts hardening? I nodded, smiled even, said, of course, I'll show him everything. And I meant it. I would show him everything. Every unnecessary process I had to fix when someone else half-assed it. Every client with a short fuse and a long memory. Every folder mislabeled on purpose. Every small, unnoticeable detail that made our work actually run smoothly. I was going to make him the star of this show, and then I'd let the lights fall on him. So I packed up my pride, and I went back to my desk. My coworkers, they avoided eye contact. A few gave me those awkward, apologetic glances. One even mouthed, "That sucks," from across the hall, like that helped. But I just smiled, nodded, kept typing, because I had work to do. And Chad had lessons to learn. I spent the next 2 weeks training Chad. And when I say training, I mean slowly, methodically, and with all the care of a man arranging dominoes, so that when one fell, the whole damn row would go down. Chad showed up late on his first day. No laptop, no notepad, not even a pen. Just strolled in, iced coffee in hand. Yeezys squeaking on the polished floor like he was entering a gym, not a job. "Sup, man?" He grinned, holding up his drink. "Ready to make me a pro?" I gave him a look. That slow blink kind of look that says, you have no idea what you've just signed up for. He sat down next to me in the shared workspace and pulled out his phone. "Quick Insta-scroll," he said. "Helps me focus." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because this was going to be so much easier than I thought. The first thing I showed him was our client database. It's a mess, on purpose. Over the years, I'd built a kind of secret language into it. Labels that only made sense if you'd worked there long enough. Tags like A3A red meant client prefers email over calls, no contact on Thursdays, never mention budget directly. Z1B, yellow meant only call between 2 to 4 p.m. Do not ask about Q3, personal issue last year. To the untrained eye, it looked like gibberish. To me, it was an operating system. Just follow the color codes, I told Chad, watching him nod like he understood. Spoiler, he didn't. Next was the budgeting software. It's finicky, and there's a reason I'm the only one who never messed up quarterly reports. I walked him through the steps, almost all of them. I forgot to tell him the formulas reset if you copy-paste from old sheets. I forgot to mention that clicking Approve sends the final version to the client directly. And I definitely didn't remind him that our top client had a scheduled review next Tuesday. Oh, and this one, I said, pointing to a folder, is where we keep campaign drafts. It wasn't. That folder hadn't been updated since 2019. But Chad gave me a thumbs up and bookmarked it. By the end of the week, he was strutting around like he owned the place. Started taking creative initiative. Started telling the design team they were too slow and not Gen Z enough. Told one of our most experienced project managers that he should chill out. Man, you're not my real dad. My boss. He just smiled and said, he's got spirit, huh? Spirit. Right. Let me tell you what else Chad had. He had all the wrong client info. He had mismanaged budget sheets. He had no idea that the most important deadline of the month was now scheduled for the wrong week, because someone trained him to believe we work on a rolling fiscal calendar. We don't. I made that up. And through all of it, I smiled, answered questions, wrote little cheat sheets I knew he wouldn't bother to read. Nodded like a mentor. Played the part perfectly. Because here's the thing about sabotage, it's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's slow. It's quiet. It's invisible, until it isn't. On my last day, I brought donuts. Said goodbye to the team. Shook my boss's hand. Chad gave me a fist bump and said, thanks for being chill, bro. I'll keep your legacy alive. And I meant it when I said, I'm sure you will. Because he would leave a legacy, just not the kind anyone wants. I was barely out of the building for 2 weeks before the chaos began. I didn't hear about it at first. I was decompressing, sleeping in, cooking breakfast like I wasn't used to doing things for myself again. The kind of quiet that almost feels uncomfortable at first, like your life forgot how to slow down. But then I got a message from Lisa. Lisa had been with the company for almost as long as I had. Smart. No nonsense. The kind of person who always saw through the fluff, but never said anything unless it mattered. Hey, just a heads up. Your boy Chad told one of the legacy clients they'd be getting more modern pricing and accidentally cut their quote in half. Thought that might make your day. I almost dropped my coffee. Turns out, Chad had gone off script on a call with one of our longest standing clients. People we never messed with because they were, bluntly, paying the bills. He thought more modern pricing sounded cool. A strategic discount to make us sound edgy. He didn't realize their contract didn't allow renegotiation until Q4, and that by saying it out loud, he triggered a clause that let them opt out early. One of the reps even asked, is this your new guy? The one Jake trained. Ouch. But it didn't stop there. Within a week, another client pulled out. This one, he'd mixed up campaign assets so badly that an email meant for a family-oriented furniture brand accidentally included edgy copy from a fitness startup. Something about burning fat and lighting fires in bed. Yeah, that one didn't go over well. Then came the budgeting mess. Remember how I forgot to explain how the monthly report formulas reset if you copy-pasted? Chad did exactly that for 3 accounts that sent out wrong numbers to 3 different clients. One of them was our biggest. And if you're wondering if anyone in the company noticed in time, they didn't. Because Chad had also been using the wrong folders. Remember the one I pointed to during training? Yeah, it had campaign drafts from before we even launched the new brand direction. He pulled half his proposals from obsolete strategies and sent them to actual clients, as if they were new. At this point, I wasn't even checking in for updates. They were coming to me. Coworkers, clients. Even someone from IT messaged me to ask if I still had backup copies of some templates Chad had accidentally deleted from the cloud. Then, late one Thursday, I got a call. Not a text, not an email, an actual phone call from a number I hadn't seen in years. It was Dan, head of marketing from our biggest account, a guy I used to talk to almost every week before I was let go. Jake, he said, skipping pleasantries. Who the hell is this new guy? I bit back a laugh and asked what happened. Apparently, Chad had shown up to the quarterly pitch with a new proposal and opened with, we wanted to spice things up this quarter. He followed it up with a deck, my old deck from 3 years ago, slapped with some new buzzwords, mismatched fonts, and a stock image of a guy high-fiving a cat. I'm not joking. Dan said their entire team sat there in silence. Then their head of operations leaned over and whispered, didn't Jake used to run this account? Dan told him, yeah, until they replaced him with a social media intern in Yeezys. That same night, I got a LinkedIn message. Then another. Then 2 more the next morning. All from clients. All saying some version of, we miss your professionalism. Would you be open to consulting? Or, hope you're doing well. Heard things got messy after you left. It was surreal. Because I hadn't reached out to anyone. I hadn't posted some dramatic farewell. I just vanished. And now, these people, some of them I hadn't talked to in months, were reaching out like I'd left a hole behind. And I guess I had. The best part? A week later, I found out through Lisa, who was now fully in spy mode for me, that an emergency leadership meeting had been called. Apparently, the firm had lost 3 mid-sized clients and had to refund part of a campaign that Chad screwed up because he didn't read the contract fine print. Chad, still somehow employed, but now being coached weekly by my old boss. Guess who's now spending his weekends fixing spreadsheets? And me? I was just sitting on my balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the sun go down, when another email popped up. Subject line: are you available for a quick call next week? Sender: Dan. Body: it's time we talk business. I have an idea I think you'll want to hear. I didn't respond right away. I let it sit there, just for a while, because I already knew what it was about, and I was ready for it. I said yes to the meeting. Of course I did. It wasn't just about the opportunity. I mean, yeah, it was a big deal. But more than that, it felt like closure was knocking, and I wanted to see what it looked like on the other side. Dan scheduled the call for Tuesday, 10 a.m., sharp. I put on a clean shirt. Nothing fancy, just enough to feel like I was stepping into something again. Not back, not to the same place, but forward. The second I joined the Zoom, Dan smiled like we were old friends. Good to see you, man, he said. You look relaxed. I laughed. Unemployment does wonders for the soul. Then he leaned in, real serious, and said, let me cut to it. We want you back, but not at your old company. We're pulling the account. They've made a mess of things, and frankly, it's embarrassing now. Our COO had to explain why an ad campaign for a retirement service included Gen Z slang and a stock video of someone doing a TikTok dance. He wasn't exaggerating. I'd seen it. Someone from design forwarded it to me for the laughs. Dan went on. We're bringing everything in-house for now, and we want you to lead it. Full control. Strategy, execution, even assembling your own team if you want. We'll pay for your time, your rates, whatever you need. But we want you. Not the company you used to work for. Just you. I sat back in my chair. Not because I was surprised, but because I knew this moment had been building from the second my boss asked me to train Chad. I told Dan I'd think about it. Not because I had doubts. Hell no. But because you never say yes too fast. That afternoon, I got another email. Then a second call. Then a message from a second client I used to manage, asking, hey, are you doing freelance now? Something had shifted. I could feel it. I wasn't just leaving the old job behind. I was taking the clients with me. But the real cherry on top? Lisa messaged me again that evening. You'll love this. Chad just tried to blame his mistakes on your training. Said you left him out of the loop on purpose. Boss is sweating. HR's getting involved. Apparently, Chad had royally screwed up a renewal contract. Like, lawyers involved level bad. And instead of owning it, he threw me under the bus. Didn't realize I'd been gone for a month. Didn't realize my name wasn't on anything anymore. Didn't realize that every move he'd made was fully his responsibility. And my boss? Now he had to explain why he replaced a proven account manager with his sister's son and let him run wild without oversight. You could almost hear the panic through the silence. Here's the thing. When I walked away, I didn't plan revenge. Not really. I didn't sabotage files or delete accounts. I didn't plant viruses or leak secrets. All I did was tell the truth. To the wrong person. All I did was let Chad be Chad. And all it took was time. Dan and I signed the contract that Friday. Simple terms. 3-month trial. Full creative control. My rates. No questions. He even said, I trust you more than anyone on that side of the fence. You've proven you know what you're doing. You kept us afloat for years. They didn't even make it 6 weeks. I've read that email like 10 times since. Because somewhere, in a sad gray office across town, my old boss is still picking up pieces. Still trying to plug the hole in the sinking ship. And Chad, he's probably wondering why nothing he learned from me ever worked. He's not wrong. It wasn't designed to. The first week of my new contract felt like walking into a house I used to live in. Except now, I held the deed. Dan gave me full reign. I had access to the old account data, the real stuff, not the junk Chad had been mangling, timelines, brand decks, and most importantly, freedom. No more approval chains. No more waiting for middle management to forward an email 3 days late. Just me, a handful of trusted creatives, and a blank canvas. And guess what? Within 10 days, I had a full campaign mapped out, on budget, on message, and exactly what they'd been asking for before Chad decided to swap strategy for slang. Dan called it the cleanest recovery I've ever seen. His COO emailed me personally. We didn't realize how much we were missing until you came back. You'd think that would have been enough. But oh no, that was just the beginning. Because when word got out, and it always gets out, things started shifting fast. First, it was a quiet LinkedIn message from Brandon, one of the lead designers still stuck at my old job. Hey man, any room on your team? It's a mess over here. Then it was Sandra from PR. If you ever need someone who actually understands tone, let me know. I'm dying over here. Then 2 analysts I mentored. Then an intern turned ace marketer. One by one, they started floating over like moths to a flame. Not because I asked, but because they saw what was happening. Because now, I wasn't just a consultant. I was quietly building something bigger. Meanwhile, over at my old office, things were unraveling faster than anyone could tape it back together. Chad's coaching turned into disciplinary meetings. He'd messed up a second renewal, this time, for a client who didn't want to leave, until they got double billed and couldn't reach him for 3 days. My old boss tried to cover for him, but the higher-ups were catching on. Lisa sent me a screenshot of a leaked Slack message. Someone in finance called the situation unsalvageable and said the firm was hemorrhaging accounts faster than they could pitch replacements. By the end of the month, 4 major clients had walked. All of them, people I'd worked with. 2 of them, now working directly with me. I wasn't trying to build an empire. Honestly, I just wanted to get out clean, do good work, and maybe find a little peace. But now I had a team of 5, a roster of clients worth more than my old company's quarterly goals, and a reputation that had only gotten stronger since I left. And the best part? I never once badmouthed my old firm. Never posted anything shady. Never leaked receipts. All I did was my job, and I did it better than they ever expected I could without them. Turns out, loyalty means a lot more when it's not being taken for granted. That Friday, I got an unexpected email. Subject line, Consulting Inquiry, Name Redacted Company. Body, Hi Jake. We've been watching your recent work and are very impressed. We're looking to revamp our brand strategy, and we're wondering if you'd be available for a call next week. We understand you've had experience in handling large transitions and client retention. Your recent success hasn't gone unnoticed. I almost choked laughing. That company, a direct competitor of my old firm. Bigger, better funded, and clearly paying attention. I accepted the call, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was scrambling to prove my worth. I was the worth. I'd become the asset, not the role, not the company. Me. I was starting to see it now, how everything had played out exactly the way it needed to. I'd been pushed out, sure, but instead of staying bitter or making noise, I'd waited. Played the long game. Set the stage. And now I was writing the script. 3 months into running my own operation, I got invited to speak at an industry conference. Nothing huge. Mid-level event. But well-respected. The kind of conference where firms send their rising stars to shake hands, collect business cards, and pretend they aren't desperately trying to poach clients over stale coffee and undercooked salmon. The invite came from a colleague I'd worked with years ago. She was now helping organize panels and wanted someone to talk about client recovery and crisis management. Apparently, I'd become something of a case study. I agreed, not because I cared about the exposure, but because I had a gut feeling about it. A little whisper in the back of my mind that said, this is going to be important. I had no idea how right I was. The day of the conference, I kept things simple. Black shirt, dark jeans, comfortable shoes. I wasn't there to impress. I was there to speak facts. My panel went well, really well, actually. People asked sharp questions, took notes, some even stuck around afterward to chat. It felt good. Not flashy, just solid. And then, right as I was walking out of the conference room, I saw him. My old boss. He was standing by the refreshment table, paper cup in hand, nodding way too enthusiastically at someone clearly trying to escape the conversation. He looked older. Not physically, but there was a kind of sagging around the edges. That tension people wear when they're holding together something that keeps slipping. He hadn't seen me yet, but I wasn't about to play games. I walked right up, slow and casual. He turned. His face twitched. That flicker of recognition mixed with panic. Oh, hey, he said, voice higher than normal. Didn't expect to see you here. I smiled. Really? I got invited to speak. His jaw tightened. Oh, that's great. Good for you. I nodded. How's business? I asked, fully knowing the answer. He hesitated just a beat too long. Bit of a rough quarter, he admitted. Some transitions didn't go as smoothly as planned. We're rebuilding. You know how it is. I didn't say anything. Just sipped my coffee. Then he did it. The thing I didn't expect. The thing I thought I wanted, but didn't hit quite the way I imagined it would. Listen, if you ever want to talk, maybe help consult, even short-term, we'd be open to exploring something. There it was. The man who replaced me with his nephew was now, 3 months later, asking me if I'd be willing to come back. As a favor, as a consultant, as a lifeline. I took my time with the reply. Not to be cruel, not to rub it in, but because that moment was mine. I appreciate that, I said, calm and clear. But I'm pretty busy these days. A few of your former clients keep me on my toes. He blinked, and then I said the line I didn't plan, but knew was the perfect full stop. You replace me with family. Funny how they never stick around when the real work starts. I gave him a small nod and walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. That night, back home, I sat on my balcony with a cold drink and a quiet mind. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. He's been on calls all day. Word is the board isn't happy. And chat. Radio silent. You broke them without touching them. Maybe. But that wasn't the point. I didn't want to break anyone. I just wanted the truth to catch up. And it did. In the most poetic way possible. So yeah, my boss replaced me with his nephew. Then asked me to train him. And I did. I trained him so well. It took less than a month for the company to start falling apart. A few more for the clients to leave. And just one polite, quiet moment for everything to come full circle. They wanted me gone. Now they can't stop calling. Funny how things work out. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day. And trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.